Is there a prompt? There are 6 emergency exits.
Hello, everybody. This is Ron, your captain speaking. We are currently 30,000 feet in the air, and we haven't even left the airport. We just lit the joint. Just kidding, a little pilot humor there. We like to have fun. Our destination today is Casablanca, Morocco. So everyone, sit back, fasten your seat.
What's going on, 7-Footers gang? Jarod and Jenna back here for episode 80 of the 7-Footers podcast. The semifinals are winding down, and I don't even have to say this is an NBA podcast because y'all better know what you're listening to by now on episode 80. What's going on over there, Jarod?
Oh, you know, keeping it chill out here in these streets. We got one team already punched their tickets to the NBA finals. Conference semis might be over for another group, and you know, we have a couple other series in the Western Conference that you know, they're maybe at about their midway point.
Exactly. Let's jump right into it here because the Lakers and the Rockets are heating up, but as many predicted, the Lakers are leading the series right now 2-1. We just had game 3 where LeBron James went off. He did everything that you can possibly imagine LeBron James to do. I mean, must I say that he recorded 36 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, and, you know, a mere 4 blocks. But, you know, that's Lord. Just light work for the king, okay? Now, we can't shy away from other epic performances, you know, by AD. Playoff Rondo returned and recorded a chunk of points in a short period of time.
Can we talk about that playoff Rondo?
Yes, because it's been a thing. It has been a thing. And you know what? I tweeted it last night during the game.
I saw that.
People came for me. Did you see people coming for me?
I did.
Did you see that?
Yeah, but I kind of left you on your own there because I was like, well, you the one who put playoff Rondo out there.
Okay, I should have put it like new hair braided Rondo looking great, like flame then instead. But people were coming for me bad. I even tweeted something about Kyle Kuzma, and people even came for me harder. And because I said that he was incredible off ball, which he was. And somebody was like, "You must be new," and I was like, "Okay, you're right." Like I just like to fool around with like trolls, and I'm just like, "Yep, the newest."
You must
That's
be
me.
new. I mean, look, the Lakers are leading the series 2-1, but you know, let's not act like they're dominating the series because they're not, right? Like, you know,
fair.
A few bounces the other way, and this series might be 2-1 the other way, and Houston could very well tie it up in Game 4. You know, so you know, 2-1. Of course, if you have a choice, you prefer to be up 2-1 than down 2-1. But you know, my thing about the Lakers is defensively, I like what I'm seeing, especially in the fourth quarter. How they're limiting James Harden. Offensively, though, you know, it's still just LeBron and AD. And LeBron, that was like one of his better shooting nights. I mean, he's not always going to be like that from that perspective. And AD was better, but, you know, AD's got to dominate this series more than he is, and he's not. Now, part of that is, we all have the admiration for PJ Tucker on this show and how great he is as a defender. But, if Anthony Davis is who he is, PJ Tucker should have no chance guarding him. None whatsoever. Exactly. And so that's my thing. AD's got to step his game up. And, again, it's that third reliable piece. Is it Kuzma? Is it Rondo? Is it Alex Caruso? I mean, you know, none of those people on the rest of their roster inspire me to make me feel like, all right, I feel good about their number 3 dude. It's like, it's by committee, and that's all well and good, but sometimes you need somebody to just step up and be the guy. And, yeah, Rondo's got playoff experience. He's still not a great shooter, right? Like, Kuzma, streaky, sporadic, up and down. Alex Caruso, meh. You know, I'm still wondering who that third guy is.
Right. I couldn't agree with you more there. And at one point during the game, I actually had that thought when we kind of saw that second rotation of guys come in, when we saw, you know, Alex Caruso on the floor with Rondo and Kuzma, and they were playing very well. But it got me thinking, too, who is the third guy, really? I can't confidently name the third guy. I mean, Rondo just got back. That would be the first person to come to my mind. But I don't know. And like you said, Anthony Davis isn't stepping up like he should be. I mean, LeBron's firing off on all cylinders, but we should be seeing AD kind of do that and then some for his age, his speed, his agility, everything. So that kind of worries me a little bit too. And you had another great point as well, that the Rockets, they're not blowing the Rockets out of the water here. I mean, Russ bounced back. It wasn't obviously good enough after he had a terrible game too, but I don't know about that. I mean, we're seeing they did have the double team real good with the defense, but the Rockets had great defense as well, especially in the second half. What killed the Rockets was they couldn't make a shot in the second half.
And of course,
their points diminished so much from the first half.
That is the Rockets' MO, right? Like, if threes are falling, life is good. Threes ain't falling, we got problems, right? But again, Houston's such an interesting matchup for them, just because Houston's just a weird team, right? With the way they play, the way they spread you out. You know, Robert Covington's their tallest player on the floor, and it's just literally nothing. They bomb threes on you, literally all game long. But hey, there's going to be a couple nights in this series where they hit 20, 25 threes. Lakers are losing that game, right? Like, that's just how that's going to go. And so, and if they have one more of those games better than the Lakers, hey, this can be upset city. I still don't think the Rockets will win. I think this could go 6 or 7. I still think the Lakers will win out, just because, again, the LeBron and AD factor. But AD needs to be dominating this series. Like, there is no one on Houston that can check him one-on-one. Yes, I understand about PJ Tucker, and he's built like a fire hydrant, and you can't move him. Get all that. But AD's got to be like, wait a minute. I always say he's one of the few guys in the league who's talented enough to be MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. Well, you got to show that, AD. And, you know, yeah, he played well in Game 3, but meh. I'm still waiting for him to step up to another level in the playoffs.
Right. And just want to get your thoughts real quick on Russ's performance. I mean, he was firing off, but he had a lot to make up for in Game 2. What do you think? How would you rank it?
I mean, it was a good Russ performance, but look, with Russ, this is what you get, right? It's for 3.5 quarters, Russ could be the best player on the floor. What always sort of limits and holds you back about Russ is that in crunch time, the turnovers, and let's be real, like, Russ is not a good shooter. Like, he's just not, right? And so if the defense walls off and doesn't allow him to get to the paint, he's got to shoot jumpers, and he's not. I mean, yeah, he can get hot and hit jump shots, but him shooting jumpers consistently well from the perimeter, that's never been his game. So yes, much better game for Russ, but, you know, unless he's going to magically turn into an above average shooter, you know, this is kind of this is how it's going to be, right? You're going to get a lot of like the electric, highlight, exciting plays, and when he's and when he's coming downhill at you, it's like, woo, he's a nightmare to contain. But, you know, if you shade him to shoot jumpers, that's a bet as defense. That's a win for me.
Right. I mean, hey, he's going to need to step up if the Lakers are going to continue to double team James Harden. And James Harden's going to have to figure out a way around that double team, or kind of pull out different facets of his game, whether he's stronger on the defensive end, or he's going to find a way to shoot the ball or facilitate it.
Good point that you made there about Harden, right? Like, so they double him because the whole goal there is to get him to give the ball up. But James Harden, right, when he gives the ball up, he's useless on offense. Like, he just stands there. It's like, no, bro, after you give the ball up, go relocate, cut, do something so you can get the ball back. Like, if you just stand there, well, the defense is won. Because now, shot clock's down towards the bottom, you're not doing anything. That is recipe for disaster. Like, one of the things that makes Steph Curry so good is when he gives the ball up, Steph relocates, right? Which makes him a tough cover because you still got to chase him all around. Now, I'm not telling James to go run you through 85 screens, but do something different when you give the ball up. Cut, come back, relocate something, just so the defense can't just sit there and be like, all right, we won that.
Right. And last note here about the Lakers-Rockets, just because there was a scary collision with Robert Covington and Anthony Davis, and it was super scary on Covington's end more because he smashes into Davis's hip, it looks like, and then that hit is already hard. His head jolts, and then when he falls back, it looks like he cracks his head off the court. So the cameraman caught him bleeding. I did read today that he doesn't have a broken nose. He passed the concussion protocol test. Yeah. So he should be available for game 4, but that was a scary collision that could have had a more terrible outcome. So hoping he's all good there too. And Anthony Davis, I mean, that's probably like running against a brick wall. So that is what that is there. But let's move on here to another series that another LA team is taking the lead on. The Clippers and the Nuggets. LA leads the series 2-1. As we're recording this, game 4 is going to happen tonight. So what's your prediction, Jarod? Do you think they're going to take it to get that 3-1 and hold that deficit?
I think the Clippers. I think I pick Clippers in 6 over the Nuggets because the Nuggets are good enough offensively to win another game. Jamal Murray can go off and do what he does and what he's been doing.
Right.
Jokic was phenomenal in game 3. I think the Clippers are clearly the better team, and the Clippers can defend, right? They can guard. Like, Denver does not guard well. I could see the Clippers winning tonight, going up 3-1, but as they are wont to do, instead of like being able to close them out in 5, they take their foot off the gas a little bit. Denver wins game 5, and then they got to close it out in 6 instead, right? I could see something like that happening.
Yeah. You did say 6, I think, because I think in the last episode I said they could potentially close it out sooner, but I'm still unsure about this one. I obviously think the Clippers are going to ultimately take it, but the Nuggets, they put up a good fight. I mean, let's talk a little bit about game 3, though, about the viral moment when Kawhi's large middle finger blocked the ball at the rim. We call him the Claw, but he really lived up to the name. I don't even want to do it on camera, but it was like literally like it was one large finger hanging, and you could just see it. A normal finger, you would have to zoom in, but that thing looked like a tadpole hanging off the rim. I mean, that was epic.
It's it's like Inspector Gadget, a TV show that used to cartoon that existed back in the 80s, right? He's got kind of like Go-Go Gadget fingers, right? He can just extend them and really block. I mean, Kawhi is phenomenal, and this is a larger point about we always talk about there's levels to this, right? How good are you, like, regular season versus the playoffs, all these kinds of things. So Kawhi, he load manages throughout the season, and because of that, often, like, he's never going to be in those conversations for MVP, DPOY, though he is a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year when he used to play full seasons. Clearly, he can no longer play full seasons, and he has to manage, his lower body, which is good. Seems like it's a chronic injury there. But when it comes to the 16 games you need to win in the postseason, right? Because you need 4 wins each series. First round, conference semis, conference finals, right? So you need 16 wins to win the NBA title. Is there a player in the NBA, that you'd want above Kawhi Leonard for those 16 games? And if there are, it ain't that many, right? Like maybe 1, maybe 2. Like, but I mean, right? Like, I mean, I guess if all things being equal, if they're both healthy, I guess maybe I'd say KD and LeBron, right? Like, I'd want over Kawhi, but it ain't like it's a wide gap, right? Okay.
Oh, no.
But of anybody else left in the playoffs, you want any of them dudes over Kawhi? I don't. Like, Kawhi's excellent, right? And we talk about it all the time. It's the way his even-keeled nature, the almost robotic way about it. Like, he's never in a hurry, right? It's always like everything is done to his pace. Even if he's having a bad game, and look, he's not going to be perfect every night, right? In game 2, he wasn't great, right? Like, when those things happen, like they're probably going to lose. But over the course of a full playoffs, I mean, Kawhi is incredible, and he can affect the game on both ends of the floor, and that's what makes him so special, and that's why so many people like the Clippers.
Hey, amen. Couldn't have said it better. Speaking of another guy that really puts it on both ends of the floor, let's talk about Nikola Jokic, all right? He went off in the last game for 32 points, 12 rebounds, and 8 assists, going 3 for 4 from the foul line. I say all of that because he performs on both ends. However, Patrick Beverley.
Well, I wouldn't say he performs defensively. I will say his new body allows him to try on defense.
Yeah.
He wasn't trying before. He's still not great defensively. He's not even good defensively. But he at least tries now because he's slimmed down a bit.
I'm trying to give him credit for the weight loss here. Right? That's it. On a serious note, though, even though this is quite funny, I find anyway, Patrick Beverley had some interesting comments about Jokic, saying that the Nuggets center is has a habit of flailing, and then Nuggets coach Mike Malone comes back and kind of throws a little dig at Beverley, which I personally love. You know me and the narratives. And he says, I don't really listen to Patrick Beverley a whole lot. If Kawhi Leonard was talking, maybe I might listen to him. Kawhi's a great player. Shots
fired, no doubt. I mean, look, that's
Talk to me about this.
That's Pat's whole MO, though, right? Like, and it's actually funny to talk about, like, flailing, right? I mean, like, that's Pat's big thing, right? He's always, like, barking at the refs, being like, and I was making that motion, basically, and this is an audio podcast, so if you didn't see me, unless you watched the video, I was flailing my arms. Pat Bev often says that's what players do when he guards them, because, like, he guards so tough. Look, we know Pat's a good defensive player. Pat also talks a lot, but that's also part of his game. Mike Malone with the perfect sort of clapback, right? He's sort of like, look, you're Patrick Beverley. Like, let's be real. Like, When we are thinking about what we're doing as a team, we're not really worried about you. Kawhi is who we're concerned about, right? Paul George, like, you? Okay. Like, and in many ways, like, Mike Malone basically saying, Pat, you're nothing but an irritant. Like, that's all you are. But guess what? Being a very good irritant is a skill, right? And that can be helpful to the team that, that you play for. If you can get in the heads of your opponent, that's a win. And whether Jokic flails or not, it is what it is. I think it's just funny. That's just Pat being Pat.
Oh, of course. Obviously those kind of moments make headlines, which make it for a funny thing to hash up on here, especially with Pat Bev. But on a real note, we got to talk about our guy, Michael Porter Jr., all right? The second year is showing out currently. I mean, there's not a lot for us to go off of because, again, like I said, second year.
Technically a rookie,
he had an
right?
awesome... Yeah, right. And he's coming off of a lot of injury history, too. So it was nice to see him throw up an epic dunk on Sixth Man of the Year, Montrezl Harrell. Tell me what you think about this performance that we're seeing. Again, it's the postseason, and he's performing like this, which I personally give him a lot of credit for, as opposed to performing like this in the regular season, especially against the Clippers.
No doubt. Look, I mean, we talked about this at the beginning of the playoffs. He's a rookie. Yes, this is technically year 2, but he didn't play all year 1. He does not have the reps yet. So he still has no idea what he's supposed to be doing, particularly on the defensive end, right? If you involve him in any kind of screening or pick and roll action, he's toast, right? Because he just has no idea where he's supposed to be. He also has some lateral movement issues, but whatever. This is also a larger problem. But he's getting valuable experience, right? It's what the excellent players in the NBA do, like we talk about all the time. Chris Paul, LeBron James, those guys who read the game so well. They have reps, right? So it's like their brain is a computer. They can just access all the files because they've seen it a zillion times over and over and over. So they know what to do. MPJ, this is the first time he's seeing all this stuff, right? So it's like learning, right? It's like learning a new language, learning how to do karate, learning what, like, you got to do it a bunch before you figure out, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, right? Like, you just need reps. And he's getting better over time, particularly with understanding when the screen comes and all that. But offensively, the talent is very obvious in there. He can shoot it. He's 6'10", so he can grab boards. I mean, he is excellent. He's part of the future there. And, I love his game. Like, he is going to be an excellent offensive player in this league for a long time. The idea is, on defense, can you make sure he's not a net negative, right? Like, it's like that's the biggest thing. I don't think he'll ever be a lockdown All-NBA first-team defensive dude, but you can't be a liability on defense, right? Like, and I think this playoff series is helping him do that, but I love what I'm seeing. The dunk on Harrell was huge. Like, And he's also showing confidence, and his teammates showing confidence in him. So all good things.
Right. And I just want to take a moment because I really, not obviously this season, but the Nuggets, they're going to be really good.
Looks like it.
Like coming years down the line, I mean, with all the young pieces that they have, as long as everything goes according to plan, pending injury, moves, trades, all the above. But they're a really good team. And I'm really hoping that they can hold their own in this series because, again, this is another one that a lot of people are betting to kind of be a sweep. But again, I don't know. I'm a big fan. I think they're another type of sleeper team that we need to start opening our eyes to, like the Miami Heat.
Well, real quick on Denver, what I'll say is that they, this is the second year in a row they've had one of the top 3 records in the Western Conference, so they're good. Like, they're just, they're a few pieces away, I think, from being like, and it's also consistency, right? That's the thing about what the great players, right? And, I was talking with someone about this today. Of course, it's what they can do, the exceptional play. That's the one that we always see, like the highlights that get our eyes like going, oh my God, look how great they are. But the great players in the league, what makes them great is that they consistently do the regular things, right? You can count on them to always throw the correct entry pass. The sort of little things that like are routine and mundane that you take for granted, those are the things that they repeatedly do over and over flawlessly. That's what makes them so excellent, is the consistency, right? And for Denver, that's sort of the next step, right? Like we always say, everyone in the NBA's got talent, or else you wouldn't be here. Like it's too good. It's only 450 spots. But what starts separating the super tops from just a regular rotation NBA guy, talent, of course, there's levels of talent, but consistency. How consistent are you in your everyday and your day-to-day? And the great ones are consistent. Even on a bad game, on a bad night, they still find a way to affect the game. Not everybody does that.
Amen to that. I love when we have that type of conversation because it really opens your eyes to the differences between certain players just because of experience as opposed to skill. So I love that. And again, let's move on because we got to talk about the team that's already clinched their spot to the conference finals. That would be the Miami Heat, the underdogs who were not even a thought when the beginning of the playoffs started, but Jimmy Butler and co propelled over Giannis and the Bucks. Unfortunately, Giannis didn't play in the closeout game. He had to watch from the sideline in what I'm assuming was a walking boot because he was seen walking into the arena with that on. So give me your initial thoughts on this. I mean, 4-1, that is bad.
Look, it's an indictment on the Bucks in many ways, right? And it's also, I want to be careful about like piling on Milwaukee today and like piling on Bud and Giannis' supporting cast. Look, as I always say, when things like this go on, there's blame to go around, right? It's not no one person. Everyone shares in what went down. Part of it is, many people are looking at this as a continuation of the season. But in many ways, it's not, right? Because when the season stopped, these guys didn't get together for 4.5 months. That's essentially like an off season, right? Like, and then you come back to the bubble for 3 weeks for training camp. That's like starting a brand new season all over again, right? So all that momentum Milwaukee built up through March essentially went away because it just stopped. So all that good play they had, and all that excellent, it just wasn't there. And it was like starting the season all over again. So there's something to that. However, Miami's just very good. And Miami specifically is just a bad matchup for Milwaukee, right? Even during the regular season, before we got to the bubble, they played 3 times. Miami won twice, right? And we talk about it before. Jimmy Butler is the perfect person for the Miami Heat. It's like, talk about hand in a glove. His basketball philosophy and how he wants to be coached and what he believes in accountability fits perfectly with Pat Riley, Andy Ellsberg, Eric Spoelstra, and that whole crew down in Miami. Like it, and Miami Heat front office and the people in charge will tell you what we do here ain't for everybody. It's just not. Like if you cannot handle being coached hard, being put through physical, because the way in which they prepare, they're one of the hardest practicing teams in the league. They want to make sure your body's right and in top physical condition. And if you can't handle being mother effed in front of your teammates in practice, like, yo, this ain't the spot for you. Like, it's just not, because their whole goal is we trying to win out here, and if we all work hard and hold each other accountable, we'll do that. And I think for Jimmy, that's his whole basketball ethos, right? That's what he believes. Like Jimmy, again, he'll tell you, and we know this is why Jimmy had issues with Minnesota. Jimmy does not understand how players like Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins don't work as hard as he does. He cannot. It just does not compute. He doesn't get it, and it's because he looks at it as, I'm not as talented as you guys, but I'm better than you. Why am I better than you? Because I work my ass off. He's like, if you guys work, damn, you know how good we'd be? That was part of the problem in Philly, right? He thought Ben Simmons didn't want it bad enough, right? Like it, and if you can, and again, as we've said before, Jimmy's confrontational. If you're not doing what you're supposed to do, Jimmy's gonna mother F you and call you out. And if you can't take that, well, Jimmy ain't the guy for you. And so, with everything they have going on in Miami, and with the pieces and the player development guys like Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, all these dudes, I mean, this is just perfect. And it's, again, Spoelstra will tell you, Jimmy will stop practice in the middle, literally, and will chew out a teammate. And Spo ain't coming over to run and play peacemaker. It's like, nope, this is how we do it here. And again, if you can't take that as a player, ain't the place. Everyone in Miami, that's how they roll, so they're good. So there's that. Jimmy fears no human being or any player in the NBA. Literally not a soul. You think he's worried about Giannis and his Defensive Player of the Year and maybe 2-time MVP? Jimmy thinks he's better than Giannis, so he ain't worried about that. Like, oh, the Bucks won 60-something games, and like, what does that mean to me? I know if we work, and he said it to Rachel Nichols, we're coming out here to win a championship. And he believed and meant every word of it. And I say it all the time. The mental and belief is half the game. If you don't think you can, why are you even showing up? You got no shot. The Heat, listen, every player and every person in that organization, they all think they're winning the title. They believe that 100%. That's how you go in to Milwaukee and you literally smack them around, because that's what they did. They smacked them up and down the floor. And they were mad at themselves for not sweeping Miami. They were mad. Like Jimmy was like, we didn't do what we had to do. We did not play. Like, they were up 3-0 and mad they lost game 4. Like, oh man, these guys are just a little different. And they're getting good contributions from Jay Crowder, mentioned Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Bam Adebayo, and what he's been able to do. If those guys continue to develop and get better, man, look, man, and Miami's got some cap room. And, some interesting things can happen.
I love that. And going off of everything you said, because it's so spot on with the culture in Miami. I said it last episode, I'll say it again. Jimmy Butler, he was born for the postseason. He was meant to be in Miami. He was meant to be in this culture. And after watching how well it's working for him, especially with the coaching staff, to his teammates, to everyone, just the complete organization overall, it makes me wonder how he didn't find this home sooner, just because we know what type of guy he is. You know what I mean? But I'm glad he found his home there. And like you said, the Miami Heat, they believe that they're going to win the title. It does not matter who Giannis is, what he's won, this and that, X, Y, Z. And that's what I truly believe set aside from skill and, the technicalities of the game. That's what I truly believe set aside these two teams in this series. Miami went 4-1 because they believe in themselves and the confidence is there. They're complete dogs on the floor. And I just don't think we saw that type of relentlessness from Milwaukee, and whether Giannis was on the floor or not. And I know that's a big difference when he's not on the floor as opposed to when he is, but still, the whole team, before they went out to the closeout game, the Bucks were saying how they wanted to do this for Giannis. He carried us this long. We want to, basically pay back the favor, but it didn't happen. It comes down to who wants it more. We always say this, to make or miss league. And the fact that it's not just the Jimmy Butler show with Miami. Everyone is on the same page. You have Jay Crowder contributing. You have Tyler Hero contributing. Bam, Kelly Olynyk. Everyone's putting up points. I mean, the box scores for everyone, the points are all spread out. So again, that just speaks to the culture. And I just want to say one last thing, because I think this is so telling to Jimmy Butler. After, he got so far in this series, I guess somebody in the press room brought up how this is the furthest he's ever gotten in the postseason. Mm-hmm. And he said, quote, "It means a lot, but that's not my goal. That's not my guy's goal. That's not the organization's goal. We want to win. We want a championship, and that is what we're focused on." And that is through and through Jimmy Butler. He doesn't care what accolades come along the way. It is that one big victory in the end, and that is a championship.
Yeah, I mean, and we've sung the praises of the Heat culture and Jimmy and what he's done. On the flip side, Milwaukee, look, this is 2 years in a row now, best record in the league, flaming out in the playoffs. Like, last year, they got to the conference finals, up 2-0 on the Raptors, had a chance to go up 3-0, end up losing that game in overtime, then lost lost 4 straight, right? This is problematic. And we talked about the deficiencies in Giannis's game. Yes, those are very clear, and we know what they are. Bud has to get some faults here as well, right? Like in his inflexibility when it comes to changing his offense, playing his guys more minutes, whatever the variables are, there are things he needs to adjust quicker. And he did make adjustments, and a lot of times the Bud doesn't make adjustment, things gets way overblown. He did make subtle adjustments, but in the postseason, or when you have a team like Miami who clearly has your number in a certain way, you got to do different things. We laud Nick Nurse and Brad Stevens for their literal on-the-fly, in-the-minute adjustments, doing things different. Hey, man, if you're Milwaukee, y'all got to do that. You got to do different things. And there aren't enough shot creators on Miami, and ultimately in the playoffs, on Milwaukee. In the playoffs, that's what you need. Whoever has more guys who can create shots for themselves and others, that team tends to win, right? And Miami does not have enough shot creators. Miami, I keep saying that. Milwaukee, they don't have enough shot creators. Giannis can kind of sort of get his own, but in a very specific way. And he can kind of sort of create for other people, but in a very specific way. Who else is a shot creator on Milwaukee? Right? And that's a problem, right? That is a problem. And so, they shoot a lot of threes, they do whatever. It's there's going to be some serious conversations going on with GM John Horst and the Bucks, because look, Giannis has got 1 year left on that deal. They can offer him the Supermax. If he declines the Supermax or does not sign it the minute you put it in front of him, you have to trade him, because he walks away after next summer and you get nothing back, your franchise is set back for another 10 years. It just is. And if you're Milwaukee, it doesn't matter where Giannis wants to go. You send him wherever the hell you're going to get the best deal for you, right? Again, as soon as they can offer him the Supermax deal, which they will, and as an MVP DPOI, he can get the Supermax. If he does not sign on that dotted line immediately, you got to start exploring trade opportunities. Because, again, if he walks at the end of the year and you get nothing, you're screwed. Your franchise is screwed. You have to get some kind of value back for him. Something.
Right. And depending on what happens, because we know that Giannis is going to be an unrestricted free agent if he doesn't sign the extension. Milwaukee isn't a shiny destination.
Nobody's coming to play in Milwaukee.
Right. And the one shiny thing gravitating people toward Milwaukee is Giannis. So that's where it gets a little iffy there. And I have to say, after the Bucks were eliminated, Giannis was asked about the possibility of, him requesting a trade from Milwaukee. And he said, quote, "It's not happening. Hopefully we can build a culture in Milwaukee that for many years we could come out and compete every single year for a championship." Well, a lot of us thought that culture was this year, being the number one, regular season team.
2 years in a row.
But it's not. So then we have a new report from the Ringer's Kevin O'Connor, who says that the Clippers may be pursuing Giannis and that Giannis has some sort of, quote, admiration for the Clippers and Coach Doc Rivers. What do you think about that? Have you heard anything opposing from that?
I have not heard about Giannis to the Clippers. They're going to have to figure out some money situation, obviously, because, they I don't know, they don't have the cap room right now. They'll have to either send some pieces and do some various things. Look, that's about it. Cap guys are smart. They can figure it out. I know Miami's got cap room. I know Pat Riley definitely wants to pursue Giannis. Imagine Giannis. Instead of, hey, I can't beat the Bucks, beat the Heat, I'll join them. Like one of those kind of things. But look, Milwaukee is not a free agency destination. Like, you're not big guys. Why? I don't want to live in a cold weather city. Sorry, it's just not. It's not. No, you're not doing it. And again, the lack of reliable shot creators on that team is a problem. You know who they'd love to have right now? Malcolm Brogdon. Might be nice to have Malcolm Brogdon right now, don't you think? But oh yeah, he was too expensive. But you see my point? Like, and I'm not even saying that Brogdon. I'm not even saying Brogdon meant they would have beat the Heat. I'm just saying that's another person who can create a shot, right? Like, anyway, this is going to be interesting. And again, if you're Milwaukee, the last thing you can have happen is him walk out the door. Look, if you offer someone a supermax deal and they don't sign on the dotted line right away, well, that's telling me something. You don't believe in this organization and what we're doing. And by the way, I'm not coming at Giannis. He is free to believe that. If I was him, I might be like, I don't trust y'all either. So if I'm Milwaukee, okay, he not signing the supermax, we got to get some value for him. Have to. You must. Something. Now, other teams are going to realize, they're shopping Giannis. That must mean that he's not re-signing. So they may just be like, we'll wait. Like, we'll just wait till free agency. That could happen too. But there's oftentimes enough teams out there. Someone will be like, look, this is what we can give you. And you get back the best possible thing you can get. And you take it from there.
Right. I mean, within that report by the Ringer, other teams mentioned that were reportedly interested include the Golden State Warriors, the Raptors, and the Mavericks. So it's going to be a fight for the Greek Freak.
No
so
doubt.
I can't wait to see this one heat up. But we got to move on here because the Bucks aren't even in the playoffs. So why are we talking about them anymore? Let's talk about the Raptors and the Celtics because Boston leads the series 3-2. But as we record this, Game 6 is tonight. The Raptors could push a Game 7. But again, I truly don't know about this one. It is a back-and-forth battle with the reigning champs and the C's, who are a young, well-coached, developed team. We already talked about all of these well-known tidbits in past episodes. So who do you think is going to take it? Do you think the Raptors can survive to push another game?
Well, I picked Raptors in 7 to start this series, and I'm holding on to that. Look, they got to be better in the half court offensively, and right now they're not. A large part of that is the Celtics defense is excellent. They are playing really, really, really excellent on the defensive end. Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Jason, they're connected defensively. It's taking Pascal Siakam out of his game, right? Like, again, we talked about it last week. The deficiencies you have show up in the playoffs against good defenses, right? They are limiting the Raptors in transition. The Raptors were the best transition team in the NBA all season. Oh, no transition in the playoffs. Hard to score points now. And as much as I give Nick Nurse a lot of credit, his half-court offense is not good. Like, they got to figure something out. Relying on Fred and Kyle, who are, again, small guards to hit threes. Yeah, okay, when they hit them, we're doing well. When they're not, it's not. Hey, push, get that secondary break going. Do some off-ball motion. And look, you can't install a brand new offense in the middle of the playoffs, but you've got to do some creative and different things to get effective in the half court, because in a half court set, and if tonight Game 6 is a half court game, Raptors are going home tonight. They are not beating the Celtics in the half court. They have shown that they cannot do that. So they're going, or unless Kyle and Fred are unconscious from 3, right? Like, then they got a shot. But they have to be better there. Have to win the half court.
Let's talk about Toronto's offense or lack thereof, because their first 18 possessions, 5 points, they went 2 for 15 on shooting, and that went from anything from layups to air balls, contested jumpers, everything you can imagine, including turnovers. But Nick Nurse, Raptors coach, said, quote, "I know it sounds crazy, but I thought our offense was awesome for like the first 8 minutes. I thought it was awesome. I don't think those shots could have been more open."
Look, I mean, I will not. Look, Nick Nurse knows more about basketball than I ever will, so I'm not going to be like I'm a better basketball mind than Nick Nurse. It didn't look great to me. All right, maybe some of them were just some missed shots. Okay, so sometimes you just miss. That's what happens. A lot of that to me again was what the Celtics wanted you to do. Right, the Celtics forced you into tough looks. Now it's the NBA, which means teams can make and players can make tough shots. I mean, this league, people build Hall of Fame careers on being tough shot makers. That can happen. But you can't rely on that, like making tough shots as this is how we're going to win. No, we got to find a way to get some easy offense. And again, the Celtics are doing such a good job of limiting the Raptors' transition game, which means the Raptors are going to have to amp up their defensive intensity, do some different things defensively so they can start their run out. Even though the Celtics are committing, I mean, literally, once the shot goes up for Boston, 3 guys immediately are heading back on defense to stop the fast break, and they have committed to that. And kudos, look at it. You know my feelings about Brad. I've always said he's an excellent coach. I just didn't like the premature, he's the greatest coach of all time. But Brad's coaching extremely well this series. And again, the Raptors can't figure out a way to score in the half court and or get their fast break game going tonight in Game 6. They're going home.
Heck yeah. I mean, let's talk about Jaylen Brown for a second, who had 27 points. I mean, he's on a tear. He's killing it. I mean, as is the rest of the starters who outscored Toronto's starters. But Jaylen Brown is really propelling the Celtics to the next level.
I really like Jaylen Brown. I mean, it's funny, like, whatever. I got my Boston things, but I've always, even with, I mean, it's going to sound crazy to people, I've always liked him more than Tatum. Like, I just do. Like, I don't know what it is about Brown. Like, I've always liked, and it's not that I'm not saying Tatum's bad. I'm just like, I just love, there's something about Brown that I can't really quantify that I really enjoy. But, I mean, this dude, he takes on the challenge of guarding Pascal. He's shutting Pascal down. And offensively, I mean, he's coming into his own. He can shoot the 3, can get to the cup. I mean, Jaylen's a phenomenal player. And, look, Boston has 2 young guys. What are they, 23 years old? I mean, yikes. Like, this team's going to be a problem for years to come. A problem.
A big problem. And you still have the Raptors in 7?
I do, because that's what I... And Raptors win in 7, which means they have to win Game 6 tonight. I'll stick with my prediction because I think there is something to be said about having that championship medal and being a championship team. So I'm going to give them tonight's Game 6 and hope they win it in 7.
Okay, all right. I believe I went with the Celtics on this because you went Raptors. I think I wanted to go C's. Yeah. So I'm going to hold it out with the C's. I like what I see. But then again, I mean, this is what the Raptors do. They come back in these types of moments, and that's why they're the reigning champs. I mean, if they could pick up this offense, I think we'll be all right. But again, this is a good one. And we said in the beginning of the series, it was unpredictable because we've never seen these 2 teams in the postseason go head-to-head, and they're delivering. And the Raptors just need to step it up. It is what it is. Let's move on to a new fun segment.
Yep.
It's so new that we have yet to name it. But basically, for the regular listeners of this podcast, you will know that I also cover entertainment news. So I'm well versed in not only the athletes on the floor, but what they are doing behind the scenes.
Or in the sheets, in this particular instance, perhaps.
That basically is right. So we have a new gossipy segment that is more fun than your X's and O's of the game. Just something to give you casual listeners kind of a little bit to something to look forward to. And this is just going to be centered around Kendall Jenner and Devin Booker of the Phoenix Suns, because even though he went off in the bubble, he left the bubble because the Phoenix Suns didn't go far, and he went right to Calabasas where Kendall Jenner lives. So, in recent days, they've been spotted out with Haley and Justin Bieber, Kendall Jenner's best friends. And the four of them were photographed in California together. Justin and Devin Booker just running in the same circle just makes me all like, I don't even know, flustered.
I mean,
but I like it.
On a double date, what are Justin Bieber and Devin Booker talking about?
Well,
yo,
again,
man, love that new song you got out. Yeah, cool.
Right. Liked what you did in the bubble, bro. Right here. That's all I could think of. But it's just so interesting because things seem to be heating up between them. They were just spotted all over Malibu, from Nobu to Giorgio Abaldi, which are two celeb hotspots. They were spotted together on numerous dates, numerous outings, whatever you'd like to call them. But things are heating up between them. But this is what generally goes on with Kendall Jenner and her ball players, hence her ex, Ben Simmons of the 76ers. I mean, she's really not going for the winning teams.
Or is it that Kendall causes these teams not to win? Which is it?
Well, that is what people say about the Kardashian curse. But, I mean, look at the perks of it. You get to run in these exclusive circles, go to these hot spots. You're photographed all the time. They're probably getting different endorsement deals and stuff sent to them because they're out with the Kardashians. I mean, I don't know.
Listen,
the relationship is interesting to me.
My man Book, all I'm going to say is, buddy, you out here languishing in Phoenix. Listen, don't keep your eye off the ball. You're playing well. Look, Kendall is a extremely beautiful woman. That is a factual statement. I don't think I'm making anything up with that statement. And kudos to them if that's what they're doing. They want to, do their thing. Clearly, she's moved on from Ben. I wonder if Ben's moved on from her. Though I did hear that Ben shot his shot at Devin Booker's ex-girlfriend via IG DMs. I heard sources say.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask you. So what's going on there? You think this is a little dig or a little shot?
Listen, first of all, these are 20-something-year-old dudes. They're petty as fuck. Like, of course it's like, oh, you're gonna be with my girl now? Cool. I'm gonna go get in your girl's D. Like, it's just like, it's whatever. I mean, it's hilarious. Look, Ben has got other things he need to be worrying about, like shooting, perhaps. That's something he should be focused on. And Book, like I said, look, my guy, you are relatively unknown in the larger basketball world. Yeah, diehards who know the NBA, and even I guess. They don't know who you are. So this is a come up for him. It's a glow up, right? Get a little Kendall Jenner on your arm. You'll become more known in the larger casual fan sphere. But let's just keep your play up, my guy. Let's make sure your play is matching, you being in the high level celebrity circles. Do keep in mind that James Harden said that once he's dumped Khloe Kardashian, things got a lot better for him basketball wise. Just gonna put that out there.
Hey, well, at least Devin has something to look forward to when she shops her next ball player. So, no digs at her. Shoot your shot, girl. Do your thing. I mean, run through that NBA roster like a champion.
Wow. I mean, she has a type.
She has a type. I mean, number one, NBA players. She also dated Blake Griffin,
Jordan Clarkson. Oh, yeah. Oh,
yeah, and you know what I've also noticed, side note, which I'll have more to report back next week, but these guys like Jamal Murray, Jordan Clarkson, Kelly Oubre Jr., they all have girls, and they are all coming out real public with them, but they're not like celebrities or big name girls or anything like that. Okay. But they are these, women who have quite the following on Instagram, but
IG models,
whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I keep track. They're all, doing their thing. I just got to make sure their mentals are good. That's why I'm keeping track. You know what I'm saying? But it's crazy out here in these streets. Don't you worry. This gossip segment is going to heat up real fast.
I like it. I like it.
disclaimer, I told you at the beginning of this before we recorded, it's very hard to dig the gossip these days because the bubble, the imports are not allowed there, so it's a little more quiet on the internet. So,
well, we're gonna have to do a little bit of investigative research this summer and figure out who's doing what this summer. See, that's how crazy my NBA brain is. The summer's about to end. This fall and winter, when after the NBA finals, to be like, all right, who's doing what?
It's just going to be crazy because everything is moved back. All the dates are changed. So I don't blame you for...
Who's finding themselves a winter boo?
You know what they say about winter. It's cold and it's lonely.
Oh,
so...
boy. Moving on.
You know what I'm saying? All right. That wraps up the gossip segment, which we will come up with a fun name. Honestly, we should poll people on Twitter.
Yep, Twitter, Instagram. We'll do a little poll to figure out what you guys like for a name for our gossip segment.
That is right. Anything more to add, Jarod? Did we cover it all here?
No, we covered it all. Oh, just really quick before we go, Billy Donovan and the Oklahoma City Thunder have decided not to seek an extension. It's not necessarily anything about being fired. I think Billy, from what I hear, sources say, Billy wants to know for certain from Sam Presti, is Chris Paul going to be back? Because if he is, he wants to stay. Billy and Chris really get along. I mean, if I had Chris as my point guard, I'd want to stay too. And I don't know that he wants to necessarily do a rebuild without Chris with the young guys. All right. So there's that. And of course, Sam can't guarantee that. He's got to do whatever's in the best interest of the Oklahoma City Thunder. So he, obviously now that allows Billy Donovan to find another job somewhere. Could he potentially go to Milwaukee if Bud is not retained? Wait and see.
Oh, hot take. I really like that,
Wait
actually.
Wait and see.
You always got something up your sleeve in these NBA streets. All right, guys, that wraps us up here for episode 80, and we will catch you guys next week. Remember, we are back weekly with episodes, especially during the postseason. Stick with us throughout the entire postseason through the NBA Finals. Jarod, tell them where they can find us.
You know where to find us, guys. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, at 7footerspod on Twitter, at 7footerspodcast on Instagram, at JS Hector, at Jenna Lemon Selly, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Peace.
Spent a couple years out here with these raps, trying to have a plan that we made come true. Applied to some jobs, but I ain't hit back. I don't wanna trap, what's a man gonna do? Chevy told me come